You ever wonder what happened in those hours between the cross and the empty tomb? I mean, think about it for a second. Everyone talks about Good Friday. Everyone celebrates Easter Sunday. But what about that day in between? That quiet, heavy Saturday when everything hung in the balance. Let me paint you a picture of Jerusalem in 33 AD, the day after the Crucifixion. The streets that had been packed with screaming crowds just 24 hours earlier were now eerily still. You could practically cut the tension with a knife. The thing is, Holy Saturday wasn't called holy back then. It was just Saturday, the Sabbath. And according to Jewish law, that meant no work, no movement, no nothing. But here's the kicker. This wasn't your typical Sabbath, not even close. Picture this. The disciples huddled together in some cramped upper room, scared out of their minds. The doors are locked tight. Every footstep outside makes them jump. Can you blame them? Their leader, their teacher, their hope, gone. Just like that. And what if they're next? Peter's sitting in the corner, probably replaying that rooster's crow in his head for the 1000th time. You think that guilt was eating him alive? You bet it was. The man who swore he'd never deny Jesus had done exactly that, 3 times. Talk about living with your worst mistake. Have you ever felt that kind of regret? The kind that just gnaws at you no matter what you do? Meanwhile, over at the temple, the religious leaders are breathing a sigh of relief. They think they've dodged a bullet. This Jesus character who'd been stirring up trouble, questioning their authority, turning the tables, literally, in their sacred space. Problem solved. Or so they thought. But here's the thing about thinking you've got everything under control. Life has a funny way of proving you wrong, doesn't it? The high priests are probably sleeping better than they have in weeks. Caiaphas, Annas, the whole crew, they're convinced they've protected their positions, their power, their precious status quo. Little do they know they've just played right into the biggest divine plan in history. Ironic, right? But here's where it gets really interesting. The Roman guards are still stationed at the tomb. Why? Because these religious bigwigs remember something Jesus said about rising after 3 days. Now they don't believe it for a second, but they're not taking any chances. Can't have the disciples stealing the body and claiming a resurrection, right? So they seal the tomb, post the guards, and call it a day. Pilate himself probably thinks he's washed his hands of the whole mess. The guy literally washed his hands, remember? He's trying to convince himself he made the politically smart move. Keep the peace, avoid an uprising, give the people what they want. That's how you survive in Roman politics. But I wonder if he slept well that night. What do you think? Let's talk about the women for a minute. Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, Salome. These ladies aren't sitting around twiddling their thumbs. Even though it's the Sabbath and they can't do much, they're already planning. First light Sunday morning, they're going to head to that tomb with spices and oils. Why? Because that's what you did back then. You honored the departed. You prepared the body properly. It's the last act of love they can offer. These women are the real MVPs of this story, if you ask me. While the men are hiding behind locked doors, the women are already thinking about the next step. They're grieving, sure, but they're also practical. They know what needs to be done, and they're gonna do it, danger or no danger. That takes guts, doesn't it? Here's something that'll blow your mind. While all this human drama is unfolding, the cosmic side of things is going wild. According to ancient texts and traditions, this is when Jesus descended to the realm of the departed. The Apostles' Creed calls it, he descended into hell, though some translations say, the dead. Either way, picture this. Jesus, between the cross and resurrection, is preaching to spirits, proclaiming victory over death itself. Heavy stuff, huh? Some theologians reckon he was preaching to the souls who'd been waiting since before the flood. Others think he was proclaiming his victory to the fallen angels themselves. Either way, while Jerusalem sleeps, there's a cosmic jailbreak happening in the spiritual realm. Talk about multitasking. Back in Jerusalem, the atmosphere is thick as molasses. The city's still recovering from Friday's chaos. You had that weird darkness that covered the land for 3 hours. The earthquake that split rocks and tore the temple curtain right down the middle. Some folks claim they even saw people who'd been buried come out of their tombs. Talk about a day that turned everything upside down. That torn curtain in the temple, That's huge, this massive thick curtain that separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple, ripped from top to bottom. The priests are freaking out about it. How do you explain that? How do you spin it to make it seem like business as usual? You can't. It's a sign screaming in their faces, but most of them are too blind to see it. The regular people, the merchants, the workers, the families, they're trying to observe the Sabbath like normal, but nothing feels normal. Words spread about what happened at Golgotha. Some are whispering that maybe, just maybe, they got it wrong about this Jesus fellow. Others are doubling down, insisting he was just another troublemaker who got what was coming. You've got families gathered around Sabbath meals, but the conversation keeps drifting back to Friday's events. Did you see the sky go dark? Did you feel the earthquake? What about that Roman centurion? Did you hear what he said? It's all anyone can talk about, even though they're supposed to be focusing on rest and worship. You want to know what's really wild? The Roman soldiers who were at the crucifixion, those hardened military men who'd seen countless executions, they're spooked. That centurion who declared, "Surely this was the Son of God." He's not the only one whose worldview got rocked that Friday. These guys have seen it all, but they've never seen anything like what went down on that hill. Imagine being a Roman soldier, trained to be tough as nails, and suddenly you're questioning everything you thought you knew about the world. These weren't superstitious locals. These were educated, disciplined military professionals. And they're shaken to their core. Makes you wonder what they really saw up there, doesn't it? Let's circle back to those disciples for a second. James, John, Thomas. These men are grappling with cognitive dissonance like you wouldn't believe. Everything Jesus taught them, every miracle they witnessed, every promise he made, it all seems like smoke and mirrors now. How do you reconcile watching your miracle-working teacher die on a cross? It's like the rug's been pulled out from under them. Thomas is probably already in full skeptic mode. You know how he gets. I told you it sounded too good to be true. But even the true believers, the ones who had absolute faith, they're struggling. They saw him heal the sick, raise the dead, walk on water, and now he's gone. It doesn't compute. And get this, some of them are probably thinking about going back to their old lives. Peter and his fishing boat, Matthew and his, well, probably not tax collecting anymore, but you get the idea. When your whole world crumbles, you grab onto what's familiar, right? It's human nature. When the dream dies, you retreat to what you know. The city of Jerusalem itself is caught in this weird limbo. Passover celebrations are still technically happening, but there's this collective holding of breath. The Jewish authorities are on edge, waiting to see if there'll be any fallout. The Romans are keeping a close eye on things, making sure no riots break out. It's like everyone's waiting for the other shoe to drop. Here's a question for you. What would you have done in that moment? If you'd been one of those followers, watching everything you believed in seemingly collapse, how would you have spent that Saturday? Would you have kept the faith, or would you have chalked it up to a beautiful dream that turned into a nightmare? Be honest with yourself. The irony is absolutely delicious when you think about it. The religious leaders are celebrating what they think is a victory. The disciples are mourning what they think is a defeat. The Romans think they've maintained order. And all of them, every single one, are completely missing what's about to happen. Ever had that experience where everyone's got it wrong except the one person nobody's listening to? That sealed tomb with its massive stone and armed guards. It's not a prison, it's a cocoon, and come Sunday morning everything's going to change. But they don't know that yet. All they know is the crushing weight of Saturday. Some scholars reckon that Mary, Jesus' mother, spent that Sabbath in quiet contemplation. Can you imagine being her? Watching your son, the child you raised, the boy you nursed, the man you believed was the Messiah, hanging on that cross, and now having to sit through the Sabbath, unable to even properly mourn because of religious restrictions. That's a special kind of torment right there. She'd been told by Simeon, when Jesus was just a baby, that a sword would pierce her own soul. Well, that prophecy came true in the worst way possible. But here's the thing about Mary. She'd also pondered all these things in her heart for years. She knew her son was special. She knew he was destined for something greater. Did she remember the angel's words that Saturday? Did she cling to them? Or did even her faith waver? The streets of Jerusalem during that Holy Saturday would have been a study in contrasts. You've got pilgrims still in town for Passover, going through the motions of the festival. You've got locals who witnessed the Crucifixion, their minds blown by what they saw. You've got the power players, both Jewish and Roman, thinking they've successfully navigated a political crisis. And you've got this small band of believers, absolutely gutted, trying to figure out what comes next. What's fascinating is that this day represents the ultimate Saturday, that in-between time we all experience. You know what I'm talking about? Those moments when the bad thing has already happened, but the resolution hasn't come yet. When you're stuck in the waiting, in the not knowing, in the darkness before the dawn. That's Holy Saturday in a nutshell. Doesn't that just give you chills? The silence must have been deafening. After all the shouting, the accusations, the crowd's roar, the hammers pounding nails, now just quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. The kind that forces you to sit with your thoughts, whether you want to or not. And while everyone's dealing with their own version of grief, confusion, or relief, time's just ticking away. Hour by hour, minute by minute, that Saturday is passing. The Sabbath candles are burning down, the sun's making its arc across the sky. Nature's just doing its thing, completely indifferent to the cosmic drama unfolding. Here's the thing that gets me every time. Hope was dead, or at least it seemed that way. The disciples weren't sitting around thinking, well, Sunday should be interesting. Nope. They were planning their exit strategy, grieving their losses, questioning everything. Hope looked dead and buried behind that sealed stone. But here's what makes the whole story so powerful. Saturday wasn't the end. It was the pause before the greatest plot twist in human history. It was the deep breath before the shout. It was the darkness before the dawn that would change absolutely everything. So next time you're stuck in your own Holy Saturday, when things look hopeless, when your dreams seem buried, when you can't see how anything good could possibly come from the mess you're in, remember Jerusalem in 33 AD. Remember that the longest, darkest Saturday in history was followed by the most glorious Sunday morning ever witnessed. That's what Holy Saturday was really like. Not an ending, a waiting, not a defeat, a setup for the ultimate victory. Pretty mind-blowing when you think about it, isn't it?